Hi there, my name is Toby, and on this channel I'm trying to share with you my own method of training, and it's quite unique. I'm searching for efficiency, and this is a basic exercise series in which I'm trying to share these ideas with you. That was exercise number 1, just twisting left and right with loose arms. This is exercise number 2, twisting left and right with a straight stretched spine, and exercise number 3 is the same thing but just leaning back, trying to find my balance. And this is exercise number 4, structural breathing. You can see how similar they are and how simple they are. And this is the idea. It's not so much the exercise, it's what I'm doing inside. And this structural breathing has got some very important benefits to it. One of those I talked about in the advanced version of this is iron shirts. You get a very strong abdomen to receive blows. And one of the other ones is you also resist hernia. This strong abdominal wall helps you prevent a hernia and helps you deal with the hernia if you've got one. Okay, this is how breathing works. Breathing is about air pressure. So this is the chest cavity and this is the abdominal cavity. And in this relaxed position, what you have is equal air pressure inside the chest, inside the lungs, as outside. So the air pressure inside and outside is the same, which means there's air in here. So this cavity, this space in this cavity is at the right size for equal air pressure inside and outside. Now when you inhale, the diaphragm here gets pulled down and this expands the chest cavity. But you can also expand it with the rib cage. You can move the ribs to expand this cavity. And as this cavity gets bigger, what happens is the air pressure inside goes down and the air pressure outside is greater, so this sucks the air in. So this is to do with air pressure. You expand the cavity and that causes the air to come in because there's a change in air pressure. But what happens here, when the chest cavity expands, the diaphragm goes down, it pushes on the abdominal cavity. And so this abdominal cavity now has to expand. But where is it going to expand? Well, it expands at the weakest place. The weakest place is this front here, the abdominal wall. So it gets pushed out in that direction. Now, actually, we want this to be strong. This should be quite strong, so it doesn't push out that way easily. It will also push a bit that way. And you can even, it will also go down, but you have the pelvic floor here, which also should have a bit of strength, so it doesn't go too far down. And this if you can keep the pressure of your abdominal cavity at a good level, this helps to hold up all the internal organs. Everything in here has got to be in its right place. Gravity, of course, pulls everything down, and we need to do a little bit of work to help it stay up a bit. But here in breathing, this weakness in the abdominal cavity that causes the belly to expand outwards when the chest cavity expands is what can cause a hernia. This is where the hernia can happen here. And then when you exhale again, of course, the chest cavity, the diaphragm goes up again, the chest cavity collapses a bit more, so this space now gets smaller. So because this space is getting smaller, the air pressure goes up. The air pressure goes up and outside the air pressure is down, so this causes the air to get pushed out. So it's to do with changing the size of the chest cavity. That's what draws the air in and out. And as the chest cavity expands and contracts, it pushes on the abdominal cavity. But these are two separate cavities and we can control them separately and independently. And this is what we've got to do in the breathing exercise. We've got to try and keep this a bit stronger so that we don't get an overstretch in the belly out this way. And all the other internal organs also get pushed out and down as you do this sort of thing. So we want to keep a nice tight belly so we've got a nice even expansion as we breathe. This is the idea of the breathing exercises, and I suggest you go back and look at the videos on the structural breathing exercise. Okay, let's have a look at the hernia in more detail. What happens when we cough? Now we've got to work this out. When we cough, this is when we have a big danger for a hernia, because you cough and you pop the hernia out, or any sudden movement. But what's happening when you cough? Let's break it down. You notice just before you cough, you take a deep breath of air. You feel it, you're just about to suck in. So this, what happens is, and because we don't know how to breathe, when you suck in, the chest cavity of course expands, the diaphragm goes down and it pushes on the abdominal cavity and it goes straight out here. It stretches out the stomach, the weakest point. So we immediately suck in a deep breath of air and already push that pressure right down to the abdominal wall here. And then what happens? We suddenly cough. Now, even though when we cough we're trying to exhale, so the diaphragm goes up again, it's so sudden and so fast, you're trying to expel air quickly, your whole chest collapses, pushes in as you tense all the muscles to cough, that even though the diaphragm is going up, it still pushes more force down onto the abdominal cavity. And especially if there's no tension here in the abdominal wall, this push goes further and further out, and here's where you pop the hernia out through the abdominal wall. So this is the danger of coughing, and we need to learn how to not do this. We've got to retrain ourselves from the very beginning. The moment we feel that suction of air going in, I'm going to cough, that's the point we've got to train ourselves. And we train ourselves by practicing the structural breathing exercise. Again, I'll leave the links to the videos below and at the end. So what we have to do at the point of about to cough, when we feel that sudden inhale, we got that urge, we know we're sucking in the air suddenly to cough, we've got to train ourselves to only take a shallow breath, not a deep breath. And you've got to, at the moment that happens, you have to also train yourself to pull in the belly, hold the stomach tight, pull the navel towards the spine. This is not the abdominals muscles, it's not the six-pack rather, it is the TA muscle, that we've got to pull in. This is the sheet muscle that controls the abdominal wall. So when you suck this shallow breath in, you've got to expand the ribs. You've got to change it from expanding the belly to expanding the ribs at the back. So you've got to activate the rib cage, open up the rib cage here, take the breath deep to this point, and try not to affect the belly so much. Now if you take a deep breath, it's very hard because now you've gone the maximum and this is pushing out. You want to take a shallow breath, try and control it, not too much air. Remember, a cough is you're trying to expel the air out. Here you're trying to get the air out when you cough. So why take too much air in? Take as little and get all of that out. So you only take a shallow breath. Try and control how much you take. Don't hold the belly in and take it to the back of the ribs. Now when you cough, you've got to hold the belly in and try and pull the belly in with the cough. And you don't take any more breath in, only push out. So every time you cough, more air is going out, belly's getting tighter, and you're only pushing air outwards. So there's never a point where you go back in again and push against the abdominal wall. You just concentrate on trying to cough more and more exhale out. You control it. And the better you get at this, the more you can master, the easier this gets. But you practice again doing the structural breathing training. And even the pelvic floor, you've got to be careful, hold the pelvic floor. A little bit of tension there, because again the hernias go to this point. Hernias pop out here. All this gets stronger. And instead of popping it this way, you let it go, squeeze it out, pull it in. Think about trying to expel the air. Now the other thing is you've got to be careful. When you hold the belly in, and again when you cough, you tend to hunch forward. Now if you hunch forward and the lumbar goes this way, and you're holding the belly in, then also you can be putting pressure that way. And now you can do something injury to your spine. You can pop a disc. That also happens. You cough, oh, I've done my spine. Because you've lost the lumbar curve, you hyperextended the lumbar, and the chest cavity put pressure on the abdominal cavity, which affected the spine. So you want to practice trying to keep this S curve. The lumbar should still be in a little bit, and the belly goes in. And the way you can do that is think about only exhaling. So there's less and less air in here. There's no pressure to go out. This is shrinking down. The whole space is getting smaller because you're pushing out the air. So one cough could be half a breath in and then and each time less and less air until your stomach's gone in nice and tight. And then you take in another very controlled breath of air into the ribs, controlling the stomach, and have another gentle cough. And you can practice this, we can all practice this. Just try the coughing and hold your hands on your belly. Notice what it feels like when you put your hands on the belly and cough. Feel the expansion and see if you can control it. And try and feel that you're expanding from here. The back of the ribs is the key, this area, and then you're breathing in and out from that point, not so much down to this point. Okay, so I actually do have a hernia. I have one hernia and one slight hernia, and I've had several, and this is because of surgery. I've had 4 big surgeries on my stomach, and that's the hernia there. It's at my navel. It's a result of surgery, so it's not my fault. I couldn't have done much about it, and I'm told it's not dangerous, but nevertheless, of course, I'm extremely cautious. And I train quite strong, quite powerfully, even though I have this hernia, because I'm always doing this method of breathing. I'm doing my structural breathing. I'm pulling the belly in. I'm trying to maintain a neutral spine like this. You can see I've got a slight backwards arch. I'm levering only at the hips. Now, this is important. If you've got a hernia, you mustn't stretch backwards. You've got to get your abdominal wall tight and as close as possible. So if you stretched it out and then you cough and put pressure on there, of course it's more vulnerable. So I'm always levering forward when I'm going to cough, and this is the lever you've got to do. It's the neutral stance lever at the hips, and you pull in the belly. It's all about the exhale. Every time you exhale, you pull in the TA muscle and squeeze out a bit more air, and that way the pressure in your belly is always reducing. It's never increasing, because there's less and less air in there every time you cough. You see, we've got to train our instincts. You always inhale a little bit before you cough. Every little cough, you'll see there's a suck in and then a cough, a suck in, a cough. You've got to try to control that. Only cough out, don't suck in. And then when you've finished all the air, then you have a very careful, controlled inhale to the back of the ribs. So even the front of the ribs is better than the belly. But you have to manually expand your ribs. You see that bounce I'm doing? That's a cough. Every time I'm coughing, I'm increasing the tension and pushing out the air. I've got to be careful of the spine. Here you see you hunch forward when you cough, and sometimes if I've got a really powerful cough, I will even squat down to this position, get the abdomen very close to the thighs, so less pressure on the TA muscle, and really try and squeeze out the air and pull the belly in. But keep a backwards arch, because again, as I said on the drawings, you can also injure your spine if you hunch too much forward, hyperstretch your spine and then cough. So this is, you see all these movements I'm doing are coughing, and it's worth practicing, because a cough and also a laugh, we're going to do laughing in time, it creates a very powerful vibration in the abdominal wall, and we can use coughing and laughing to train our abdomen. So this is the powerful iron shirt breathing. This is the advanced level of structural breathing. In a deep horse riding stance, inhale, the hands come up and back. Exhale, I squeeze down, increase tension, push out all the air. I'm trying to get the last bit out, and now I cough. Every cough is squeezing more and more and more, trying to get the last bit of air out. So we can all do this as an exercise. Doesn't matter if we got hernia or not. This will train your TA muscle to pull in. The TA muscle is the one that pulls your navel to the spine, and the obliques. It shrinks down the waistline. And also the pelvic floor, because we want to lift the organs up a bit. The internal organs are being pulled down. We want them to go up. But where do they go up to? They've got to go up into the rib cage. And here you can see dramatically, and look, my hips are back, and my shoulders are back, and I've got a backwards arch, and from that position I'm squeezing out the air. Okay, I hope this made sense. Please leave any questions in the comments below, and I will get back to you. Check out these other videos, and look forward to seeing you the next time.